For thousands of years, they've just stood there in the desert, silent, hiding all their secrets. These gigantic tombs, built with a precision that seems impossible, long, long before any modern technology. But what if the biggest mysteries of the pyramids have already been solved? Let's dive in. Okay, so first, let's just take a moment to appreciate the sheer scale of what we're talking about here. The Great Pyramid of Giza isn't just old. It represents a level of ambition that's frankly kind of hard to wrap your head around today.
I mean, just think about that. For 4 millennia, through the rise and fall of entire empires, nothing humans built was taller. This one building held the world record longer than anything else, and it's not even close.
And the weight? Get this, a staggering 6 million tons. Now, to put that in perspective, the tallest building in the world today, the Burj Khalifa, weighs about 500,000 tons. The pyramid is more than 10 times heavier. Just incredible. All that colossal weight is made up of about 2.3 million individual blocks of stone, and each one of those weighs anywhere from 2 to, get this, 80 tons, and they were all carved, moved, and placed with just breathtaking precision. And that, right there, that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The one that's fueled all the speculation for centuries. With no cranes, no bulldozers, they didn't even have the wheel for transport. How on earth did they do it?
Well, to understand the how, we've really got to understand the why. Because this wasn't just some construction project. This was a national mission, and it was driven by a really deep, profound spiritual belief.
At the very center of this mission, you had the pharaoh. And they weren't just kings or queens in our sense of the word. No, they were seen as living gods. And their journey into the afterlife was a huge deal, a matter of cosmic importance. The ancient Egyptians had this really detailed vision of the afterlife. They believed your soul would travel to an underworld to be judged. And if you were worthy, you got to live forever. So the pyramids? They were basically launch pads for this journey. Eternity machines, all stocked with everything a king would need in the next world. And right at the center of it all was his mummified body, preserved for all time. Okay, now let's tackle one of the biggest myths of all. That classic image you see in movies of thousands of slaves being whipped while they build. It's a powerful story, for sure, but modern archaeology tells a completely different one. You see, the whole slave idea mostly comes from the ancient Greek historian Herodotus, and he wrote about it centuries after the pyramids were even built. But actual archaeological digs right near the pyramids, they found the remains of a whole workers' city, and the evidence there shows these were skilled, respected laborers. They were well paid, well fed. In fact, they ate better than the average citizen, and they seemed to take a lot of pride in what was for them a national project. So we have a motivated workforce and a divine purpose. But that still doesn't explain the engineering of it all. How did they actually move and stack millions of tons of rock? Well, let's break it down. Archaeologists are pretty sure the whole process can be understood in 3 main stages. First, you've got to get the stones out of the ground. Second, you have to move them to the building site. And third, the hardest part of all, you have to lift them up the pyramid. So for step 1, quarrying, they used pretty soft copper tools for the local limestone. But for the much harder granite, some of which came from quarries 800 kilometers away, they used these heavy pounders made of dolerite, which is an even harder rock, to just patiently chip away at it. And their solution for transporting these giant blocks was just brilliant. A painting found in an ancient tomb actually shows a worker pouring water on the sands right in front of a sledge. And when modern physicists tested this, they found that adding just the right amount of water cuts the friction in half. It makes dragging these multi-ton blocks across the desert totally possible. And for that final monumental challenge of lifting them up, the leading theory is a huge system of ramps. Now, we're still debating the exact design. Was it one long straight ramp, or did it spiral around the outside? But we found real archaeological evidence of these ramps, complete with post holes for the whole rope and pulley system they would have used to haul the stones up. So when you put it all together, the most incredible part might just be the sheer level of organization this required. I mean, think about the logistics. To finish the Great Pyramid in just 2 decades, a brand new, perfectly cut block had to be moved into place every 3 minutes, day and night. This wasn't just construction, it was one of the biggest and most complex project management feats in human history. It's almost unbelievable.
But maybe the most important key to understanding all of this is that the Great Pyramid didn't just appear out of thin air. It wasn't dropped off by aliens or built with some lost super technology. No, it was the result of a long, slow process of trial and error.
You can actually watch the design evolve. The earliest pharaohs were buried in these simple rectangular mud brick tombs called mastabas. Then, around 2700 BC, this brilliant architect named Imhotep had a revolutionary idea. Why not stack 6 of them on top of each other? And boom, you get the very first step pyramid. And over the next 100 years or so, they just kept refining that idea until they finally perfected the true smooth-sided pyramid we see at Giza.
So you see, the Great Pyramid wasn't a miracle. It was a masterpiece, but it was a masterpiece born from centuries of innovation. Each generation of builders learned from the last, passing down their knowledge and perfecting their techniques until they could create something that would literally last for eternity.
So while we've unraveled a lot of the pyramid's greatest puzzles, the story is obviously far from over. And it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other incredible histories, what other lost knowledge is still out there, just waiting for us beneath the